All right, this lesson is, I'm going to give the actual wording. It's called Measures of Central Tendency. Okay? Measures of Central Tendency. And if you're not ready, why don't you go get your notebooks, make sure they're open, or get a piece of paper, and get these notes down. So when everyone's ready, and you have your notebooks open, and you get your title down, then keep playing on. If you need to pause it now. The topic here is measures of central tendency. I'm going to do slide number 1. There are 4 major words in central tendency. You've probably heard them before, maybe last year. Number 1 is the mean. No, it is not the adjective describing me the very first day of school. Remember those rules I passed out day 1 of class? I think I saw some kids mess their pants, they were so scared. The mean here is actually a noun. And the mean is another word for the word average. You know, so many kids ask me, hey, Mr. G, what's my average? Hey, what's my average, Mr. Goodwin? How about my average now? What's my average now? So finding the mean is like finding the average. And think of the rules and regulations for finding the average. You are to add up all your data, add up all the data. And I'm writing here with my finger, not my stylus is at school. I'm home doing this. So add up all the data, and number 2, you divide by the number of data. Number of data. And maybe you already knew that. Let me do just one example of this. Let's pretend you have a couple of quiz grades here. 5 numbers, 75, 90, 81, an 88, and a 92. You would start by adding them all together. You get 426. That was step number 1. Then you divide by 5, because there are 5 numbers. It comes out to be exactly 85.2, and that's called the mean or the average. I'll start using the word mean from now on. Simple as could be, people like doing the mean and the average, and yes, you will probably have to use calculators because the numbers become quite crazy as time goes on. Alright, so there's the word mean. Second word, median. M-E-D-I-A-N. I'm not sure if you heard the word or not last year, or maybe this year, the word median. It's like the middle of the data, middle of the road, the median. And if you can recall the steps or rules and regulations, you list the data from low to high. The data from low to high, from lowest to highest. Okay? And then number 2, you find the middle number. Find the middle number. I got 2 examples to show you. So I'll slow down in case you're still copying it. List the data from low to high. And then number 2, find the middle number. Now, let me give you my first example and then my second example. Let's write those same 5 numbers down. 75. I'm going to put them in order now. 81, 88, 90, and 92. So I did step 1. Well, it's pretty easy to see with 5 numbers who the middlemost number is, right here. We call 88 being the median. Hey, you found your median. 88 is a median of the data set. Median and mean aren't always the same number, nor the same answer key. Just keep that in mind. I want to give you a second example. People always say, well, what happens if you have 2 middlemost numbers? What do you do? Let me give you some grades here. All right, 75. Write down 2 number 81s, and then do an 88, and a 90, and a 92. So I have 6 grades here. I have 3 of the lower and 3 of the upper. So this dot I'm making here would represent the median. Well, there is no number right in between 81 and 88, so we're going to have to kind of make it up ourselves using math. And here's what you do. You take the 2 middlemost numbers, which are 81 and 88. So you can't say you have 2 medians, but you kind of have 2 middlemost numbers. You add them together and you divide by 2. And that answer ends up being 84.5. Now that, oops, that's a 5 by the way. Now that is a median. So I know 84.5 was never part of your data set to begin with, but still we call it the median. So there are two cases. Case number one is you have, an odd amount of numbers. So you will have an actual median that is part of the data set. And then number two is right down here. Okay? This is going to be you have an even number of data, and therefore when you line them up, you won't really have a number in the dead center, but you're going to have to create your own. In this case, we called it 84.5 is your median. So there are two cases you'll be exposed to today in our worksheets. All right, next term is the word mode. I wonder how many of you know what the word mode means. Mode. Well, mode is the data. Oops. Hold on. The data that appears the most. Easy enough. The data that appears the most. I'm going to go back to those 5 grades I wrote down to begin with. 75 and a 90, 81, 88, and a 92. Okay? Not one of those grades appeared more than any other. So this example I gave here is an example of no mode. You have to write that down, guys. When I say what is the mode, if you leave it blank on a quiz, I'm going to think that you don't know what the answer key is. But the answer key is actually, hey, there's no mode. So state that down on a test or a quiz or a homework. There is no mode. Don't leave it blank. That means you had no idea what the mode was. Here's another example. Let's write down the 81 twice. Then 88, then 90, then 92. Aha! I see 2 81s. They appeared more than any other piece of data. So we'd write down mode equals 81. And here's a third kind. Write down 75, 81 twice, 88, 90, and then 2 92s. We have kind of first place for, tie score for first place. 81 appears twice, and so does 92. So you would write down and say the mode equals, and write down both numbers, 81 and 92. Okay, you can have 2 modes, and sometimes you can have 3 modes or 4 modes. All depends how big your data is. But right now, you can have 2 modes as part of the problem. So 3 things will happen. One of these 3 things will happen. You will have either no mode at all, or you will have just 1 mode, or you can have 2 or more, like I have here in example number 3. And the last part here. No, it's not an M word. It's the R word. It's range. Starts with an R. Range. And it's more like a formula. The range is actually doing a math operation. Take your highest data, subtract your lowest data. And the answer key is called the range. So if you go back to the very first 5 numbers I wrote, the highest was 92, and the lowest was 75, I think I said. The difference is 17. That is your range. There's a 17-point spread between your highest and your lowest quiz grade. A lot of kids did this before. When I used to teach this, they said, oh, the range is 75 to 92. And I kept saying, I don't understand why you guys are doing that. It makes no sense. You have to get a numerical value. And I see what they were doing. They were telling me the high and the low and all in between. But I don't want you guys to do that any longer. And I think some elementary teachers taught it that way. You have to actually give me numerical value. 17 equals the range. Okay, guys. I've done the 4 terms. When you go up to the, in a minute, I'm going to have you guys get calculators. You're going to do a couple of worksheets on mean, median, mode, and range. And if you need to, just go back to your notes. I will keep this video link on the web for quite some time in case you need to go back and review it. All right? Good luck. Peace out. Bye.